Hello, I'm Colleen Henry. I'm the Interim Director of Instruction and Technology for Sweet Home School District, and this week's video is an introduction to Kami for parents. I know that there may be some older students who would appreciate an introduction to Kami. I found one that one of our teachers, Miss Nelson at the junior high, is using, so I'm going to put above, somewhere up here, a link to that video for students. And I also know that the way Kami is used at the elementary level may be different than how it can be used at the secondary level. And I want to make sure I demo both age brackets. So down below in the description box, I'll put chapter titles. So if you don't have time right now to watch the entire video, you can just skip to the area that is the most convenient or applicable for you and your family. So we're going to look at the different tools that are available in Kami, and we're going to talk about maybe some troubleshooting issues if you run into those, and let's get started. So most likely you are going to be activating Kami if you see in a course or assignment this type of notation. This tool needs to be loaded in a new browser, and there will be a button for you to click to load the assignment name in a new window. So typically we are using an external tool when you see that notification, and it can be a Google tool, but today I'm going to show you what it will look like if it's a Kami tool. So let's start with the elementary. So when you click that button, this is one of the assignments that is loaded for one of our classes in the district. This is an English language arts assignment. And this is an elementary level. So we are using Kami because this is just a static digital assignment. It's a PDF. And we wanted students to be able to interact and demonstrate their learning and understanding over different skills. And so we needed Kami and its many tools in order to do that. So I'm gonna demo on the side here the different tool sections that your student can use. And of course, if there's any doubt about which tool your child needs to use, I would encourage you or your child to contact their teacher just for clarification if it's not listed in the directions. So at the top, we have a selection tool. There are 3 different selection tools, and all of them do a couple different things. I'll actually come back to this at the end of the elementary session. We have a great dictionary tool. So if your child comes across a word that they aren't familiar with or need to look up, all they would do is click on that tool, and then with their mouse or trackpad, select a word that they would like Kami to look up for them. And in this case, it gives you the most common definitions and parts of speech. We also have the ability to have Kami read this page to your child. It can read sentence by sentence, and so there's some navigation tools at the top. You could select a passage that you want the reader.
Listen for the T, S, M, and short the sound. Say each picture name. Listen for the T sound. Write the letter T to show where you hear the sound for T.
So because I had highlighted, it automatically started. There is the, if it doesn't start automatically, the ability to load the page and load the speaker, I should say. To stop the speaker, you can change the voices. There are several different ones to choose from. And if you notice that this speech is going too quickly, there is a dial here, or pardon me, a slider bar here that you can slow down the pace of the speech. All right, in this next section, you have the ability to mark things up, comment, text box, or write an equation. So I really like this section. Markup means highlight. So if for older students, you might be asking them to highlight a longer passage, identify main topic or supporting details in the English language arts, for example. And they don't have to do a lot of highlighting here, although if this question asked them to highlight which letter sound they heard at the beginning, they could highlight that. And as with most tools in Kami, all they have to do is select the tool and then with their mouse or trackpad, hold the button down and drag, and then they will be able to complete that function. Now you'll notice that when I kind of hover over the area that I selected, I have the option to change the highlighting color, or I could delete it as well. If I need to highlight a large section, I can do a box highlighter, and then this works just like drawing a rectangle. And you'll notice it's more transparent. I have two other options to strike through or underline, which I won't need to worry about. On my keyboard, I'm going to hit Command Z or Control Z, and that shortcut also allows for an undo. I think a lot of teachers will really appreciate the next tool. It's the comment tool, and within the comment tool, I can provide a text comment, a voice comment, a video comment, or a screen capture. So if I wanted for English language arts, I wanted as a teacher to assess a student's reading ability, I may put a passage up and ask them to read to me. And in that case, they could do a voice comment. It says select or click or select text anywhere on the page to make an audio comment. So that's a nice little helper reminder of how to start this tool. It will load an audio recorder. Notice I have 5 minutes on the clock, so it will do a 5-minute audio or recording, and it can pick up my sound waves on my microphone. I can see the red dot that it is recording. So I can embed an audio comment on this PDF file as well. I'm going to delete that. Text box. So for number one, I'm going to demonstrate how you would use this tool. It's to say each picture name, listen for the T sound, write the T to show where you hear the sound for T. So number one is 10. I hear the sound for T at the beginning of the word. So I'm going to write the letter T. So when I did that, you'll notice right above here, right below the, at the top of the page below the blue bar, I have some formatting menu that pops up. I can choose a different, from a different set of fonts. I can adjust the size. I can adjust line spacing, or in this case, this is line height. And there's some additional formatting options for bolding, italicizing, underlining, strike through, and then some additional formatting options regarding where it's placed and aligned on the page or within the text box. If I didn't want to do a text box, I'll show you another option in just a moment. This is a boat. I hear the T on the end. So you'll notice it remembers my settings from the first text box to the second text box. So if I want to set the settings here and make it fit that space, I won't have to do that every single time I use a text box on an assignment, which is very handy. And the next option is an equation. If we were looking at a math problem, for example, I have the ability to write in a text box or show my work using the different equation symbols, because those are sometimes hard to find on a keyboard. So they have created equation symbols. And then you can also change the color of the equation if you'd like to, and the font size as well. That's something I didn't show you from the text box. You have the ability to adjust the font here. And then once you create that text box, you could also adjust the font when you insert a text box. So this says write the following numbers in expanded form. So we want to do 500 plus 60 plus 2. I could do it that way. So the plus sign is easy to find on the keyboard. If it was something a little more complex, if I was showing greater than or less than, I would use these symbols might be easier for your child to find. Pardon me. And then the next section has to do with drawing. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go back to the earlier PDF. We have found kind of a little shortcut here. If you have one of these styluses lying around, they have the foamy ends. This is actually a really great tool for your younger students to use, and they can use it on the trackpad. I have a quick video I'm going to jump to demo how you use the stylus on a Chromebook or laptop trackpad. So we found that any trackpad will work. You do have to press just like you would if you're trying to click and drag on the trackpad. You would press slightly, add some more pressure to the trackpad itself, and you can use a stylus as a drawing tool. Again, it might be an easier option for students, especially young students who are still developing their fine motor skills, to be able to use a stylus to, oh, this is tape. Gotta make sure I put it in the right spot. To be able to draw instead of type. So there is an option there. In this case, the number option at the top has to do with the thickness of the line. We have the how transparent you want it, and again, you have a palette to choose from if there are different colors that you would like to draw. You can also add shapes to a PDF. So the directions asked you to put to circle or highlight. We already talked about highlight. Circle or put a box around something to indicate a preference for something. Your child can do that by selecting the right shape and then selecting, in this case, it has not filled in, but if I would like it to fill in, I would change the transparency. Pardon me, that's not how I'm going to change the transparency. I would have it fill. And it has not filled. I'll have to play around with that. Strange. Oh, I don't have it selected. That's why. Okay. So I can fill it here. Again, let me go back and kind of show the process for doing that. I was here, I had drawn it, but it's not editable anymore. So to make it editable, I need to select it. And when I click on it, you'll notice the corners change to let me know that I can resize it. I also have this menu bar where I can fill it, or I could change the color right from here. I don't always have to go back to the toolbar on the side. I can erase something. That was easy. If my teacher wants me to add an image on a PDF, I can do that. I can search from Google. I could search for files saved in my student drive or from the computer. There's also some stickers that are embedded. And then the last option is signature. There should be no reason why your child would need to add a signature to an assignment unless they were working on cursive, perhaps. In that case, a stylus would come in really handy. All right, so those are the different tools at the side. Let's talk about the tools along the top in the blue bar. We'll work our way from left to right. We have the ability to toggle the sidebar, so you can see that this assignment, I've done 3 notations on here, so it'll track how many things you've added to that assignment, but there's also a second page. So sometimes we might not scroll far enough, and you'll notice on the second page, draw what Sam and Tam will do next. So again, if this is for a really young student, they may not have the physical dexterity to be able to do an effective drawing. So in this case, I think it would be completely appropriate to look for an image and input that. But of course, you'd want to double check with your teacher to make sure that that action is what they're looking for. So that is in this box right next to the EDU. The EDU shows that as a district, we have purchased the educational license to be able to provide this for teachers and for students. You could find something in a document. This would probably be more appropriate for older students who have an entire passage and perhaps they're looking for specific references the teacher has asked them to look for. Then we have the file name. So your child does not have to put their name on anything. Each time a student logs into Canvas and when they click on that button in order to load this tool, their student information is added to the top. And when they go to submit that assignment, it will go to the right spot in the teacher's gradebook, which is a blessing and a curse. As a former classroom teacher, I can't tell you how many times we ask students to remember to put their names on things. They'll be getting a little bit out of that habit and practice because Cami and Canvas does it for them. So I'm going to scroll past the file name. I have the ability to zoom in. So sometimes the font on the screen may be too small for your reader to see it effectively. They can zoom in. There is also a drop-down menu with prescribed settings. So they could do full width, which will take into the full width of the page. They could make the page fit the screen if that's easier for your child to navigate. They won't need to worry about opening a file or sharing a document or printing a document. They do need to make sure that they are familiar with this last or this feature right here called submit. They want to look for the disk to indicate saving. When they click this, they will have the ability to notice that this assignment has not been turned in yet. So they will need to turn it into their teacher. And if they are done and they click submit, it'll go right into the teacher's gradebook and show that the student has submitted it through Canvas. If your child needs to print something out in order to complete it, they will need to submit it through Canvas. And so if you are doing a printed assignment, please talk to your teacher about what arrangements can be made to make sure the actual assignment gets turned into them. But we want to make sure we're all in the habit of clicking submit. If you don't see the submit button for your son or daughter, please make sure you notify the teacher. There will be some settings in their Canvas page they'll need to adjust to make sure that your child can submit the assignment back to them. All right, so we've looked at all these great features. If you are not able to even load the assignment, it could possibly be mean that you have not logged into your student account. So parents, our EDU license is only applicable to students who are logged into their Sweet Home School District account. So if for whatever reason you aren't able to access an assignment, that can be another way to troubleshoot and make sure that your student is logged in to their district account. If they're using a district Chromebook, once they log into the Chromebook, they will automatically be logged into their Sweet Home School District account. There may be one or two initial steps of authorizing Cami for student use, and that's part of the protocol of initializing or engaging this tool. All right, so that's all the information I have for elementary. I'm going to switch over and talk about and demo the same tools, but using secondary assignments next. All right, so this is a PDF that is being used at the 7th grade level. This is an All About Me PDF. And you can see that it has several text boxes for students to fill in. So let's talk about the tools on the left-hand side of the screen. There are a couple different sections of tools. At the top, we have Select Tools, and that gives you several different options to select spaces or select objects that you add to a PDF. The reason why we're using Cami is because most of our content and curriculum that are digital copies are saved as PDFs, and we want students to be able to interact with them. And in order to interact with them, we need a stable set of toolbars, and we have that in Cami. Pardon me. So next we have Dictionary. If your student is reading something and they want to look it up, they can click on the dictionary and then click and select the word that they want to look up. There's an embedded dictionary that will give the parts of speech and the most commonly used definition. It will also read the page or passage to your child. So I'm going to select this box. I'm going to select
The facts: I am _____ years old, and I am in _____ grade.
I'm not going to make you listen to the entire reading of that, but you have the ability to initiate the reader to go through the entire page, and you can ask it to move from next sentence or previous sentence. You can put it on a loop. You can initiate the reading of the entire page by clicking the play button, and you can stop as you saw me do. You can adjust the different voices. There are several different voices to choose from, and you can also change the speed of each reader. So if that sounded a little slow to you, if you click on the speed, there is a bar here that you can, a slider that you can make it faster or slower. All right, next we have markup. Markup has to do with highlighting. You can either highlight single words. Again, just like we did with selecting, you're going to click and drag on the mouse or trackpad. And then based on the color of the highlighter that you have selected, that will be the color that's reflected. Notice when I hover my mouse over the item that I've selected, I have this menu here, so I can edit the color, I can copy, I can add a comment, and I can delete as well. Maybe I need to highlight a larger passage, and in that case, the box highlighting tool allows me to do that, just like drawing a square, rectangle, or text box. I can make a larger passage highlighted. I can strike through a passage, so perhaps the directions from my teacher are asking me to highlight the main idea and strike through any other ideas. I could demonstrate my understanding of that skill by using the tools on Kami. And then I also have an underline feature as well. So let's talk about how to undo. There's a couple different ways to undo. As your student is learning how to use these tools effectively, you can select an object and click the delete button. You can use a keyboard shortcut like Command or Control Z. And then you also have at the top, which we'll talk about this top blue bar at the end of this video, you have the ability to undo as well. Pardon me. I really love this next tool, this comment tool. I used to teach language arts, so this would have been such a handy tool to use when we were having close reading skill activities or long discussions over text. You have the ability to add a text comment, which we used to do in the classroom, a sticky note activity. This can be your digital sticky note. You have the ability to add a voice comment. So perhaps, let me select over here, maybe. Maybe instead of filling in all of these boxes, because my typing skills aren't very strong, I could read to my teacher my favorite subject, my favorite food, my favorite sport, my favorite song, my favorite movie, my favorite pet or animal, and I could leave them a vocal comment or complete the assignment in that manner. This is probably a good time to note that if you have any questions about how the teacher wants you to complete an assignment, please check with them, especially if you have specific questions about what tool they would prefer you to use. You can use a video comment and finally a screen capture as well. The text box would be probably the most appropriate tool for this activity. At the top here where it says all about, I don't need to highlight, I don't really know why I did that, but this is where you could put your name as a student, and you can size the text box by dragging in the corners. I can, once I activated the text box feature, you'll notice right below the blue bar that is this formatting pane that popped up. There are a set number of fonts, so I can change the fonts, I can change the text size, I could change the line height, if this was multiple lines, the spacing between the lines, and then I have some additional formatting tools and options to choose from. For a math page, in fact, I'm going to toggle over to a high school math assignment. And I'm really glad I did that, because sometimes when you load a PDF, you might get a window that pops up like this that says, it seems like a scanned PDF. Would you like to add the text? Always say run OCR. OCR stands for optical character recognition. I think if I remember that correctly. And that just means what Cami is going to do is it's going to look for letters and look for things that could be considered language, words. And when you run the text-to-speech toolbar, it will recognize that that is, in fact, a word and not an image. So whenever this question comes up, always say run OCR. That will, again, ensure that your child is able to use the text-to-speech. And sometimes a PDF that's loaded you won't need to do that for every single one, but if Cami recognized that, oh, this looks scanned, our veteran teachers have a lot of hard copies of things, so if they've scanned something in and are using that for Canvas, Cami may not know that the difference between a scanned image and a scanned worksheet. So that's usually why that prompt will come up. So in this case, it's asking to write a verbal expression for each algebraic expression. I'm going to try not to embarrass myself in my math proficiency. So again, this would probably be a great place to do a text box. So that's 9a squared. Now that font size is way too big, because you remember it, the last font size I used, it duplicated it here. So that's a nice feature to have, that it'll remember my user settings. There's a couple different places that I can change the font size. I could do it here from the tool bar itself, the left-hand toolbar on the side, or because it is in editing mode, and I know this text box is in editing mode because the corners are rounded. I could select from this drop-down menu. Let's try 14. That looks a little bit better. All right. Okay. Oh, I want to add another text box, but I can't. Well, this one's a little big. So sometimes your text box you might need to adjust to make sure they all fit well, especially if you wanted to keep your answers on the side here. C plus 2D. All right. And then, so we demoed the text box feature. The next feature, equation. This is especially handy for older students who need to use more complex mathematical symbols. And it works just like the text box, but instead you have the ability to choose a whole host of different symbols to include, especially if that is what, pardon me, especially if that is what the question is asking you to do. So in this case, write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression, the sum of a number and 10. All right, so sum is addition. You can find the plus sign on a keyboard, but question number 10, 10 less than k, you may not always be able to find the mathematical symbols required on your keyboard. And that's why this equation tool is so handy. The drawing tool is next, in the next section. I would highly recommend that you see if you might have in a drawer somewhere at home a stylus. It has a little foamy end, and it, here I'll zoom in here, it looks more like this. You can find these at Dollar Tree. They're actually a better deal on Amazon or Walmart. You might even have had one for free somewhere, but these are really handy if you're going to be using the drawing tool at all. And you can actually use the drawing tool if you have a Chromebook or a laptop, that trackpad, you can actually use the drawing tool in place of your finger on there. And I'm going to demonstrate how you do that right now. I recorded this video earlier. Let's see if it's going to play. Maybe. Yes, you're not the only one that might have problems streaming videos. Apparently I can't either. I'm going to reload the page and see if that helps at all. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you take your stylus, just like you would your finger. You do have to press down, at least I did when I'm demonstrating this, just like you would if you were drawing something and using the trackpad in the original way. But you can draw lines on there. In that activity, it asks to match. So it would be very handy to use a stylus, especially if your child isn't or is struggling with the keyboard, or has, it might just be easier for them to tackle that activity or assignment with the stylus. All right, so let's say you have completed the assignment and you're ready to turn it in. Let's talk about the toolbars at the top of the page. So you'll notice that we have this little EDU, that stands for Educational License. That means Sweet Home School District has purchased licenses for all of our students and teachers to be able to use the expanded tools and be able to integrate Kami with our Canvas. This box here that says toggle toolbar, if this was a multi-page assignment, you could go and look ahead at the next page. It's a way to kind of track things. And then you can also see how many annotations have been added to that page. In this case, I've added 3 annotations. So I can make sure if there's like 19 problems on the page and I've only done 3, I know I still have some more work to do. I'm going to close the sidebar. At the top, it'll tell me what assignment or what course in Canvas this assignment is from. It also tells me the file name. Notice it added my name. It added my name right to the top. So as a former classroom teacher for years, we spent a lot of time reminding students to put their names on things. And they might get a little out of the practice of doing that, because Kami and Canvas does it for them. When they are logged into Canvas to access this assignment for their teacher, it recognizes they are a student user, and it will add their student username right to the beginning of the file name, which is very handy. Again, scrolling past the middle of the page, we have the zoom in and zoom out feature. So depending on the size of the page, you're not stuck with that page size. If you would like to do the full width, we have some prescribed settings on the side here. You can do the full width of the page. And if it's too big, you can zoom in and zoom out using the plus and minus as well. They won't need to worry about opening a file or sharing a document back with their teacher, or even printing the document and emailing it to their teacher, because all they will need to do once they have finished an assignment is click the submit button. It shows that they have that this assignment has not been completed before. That if they're done, they will click the blue submit, and it will go back to their teacher and into their teacher's gradebook, ready for grading. We also have the ability to download it. So if you don't have a very steady internet signal at home, or you're working in different locations and you want to save that assignment, to the actual device drive itself, you can do that. And then if you get stuck, there's a help menu that you can initiate some troubleshooting guides. And I didn't finish all of the tools on the side. I apologize. I got so excited about the top bar. Let's go back down and do that. So below the drawing tools, we have shapes. So if your child will need to add a shape to something, they can do that. If instead of the outline, they need to fill it in, I'm going to, when I click on the shape itself, it makes another shape. All right, so on my keyboard, I'm going to Command or Control Z. That will undo the last activity. You'll also notice at the top blue bar, it auto saves as I work. I won't have to worry about clicking save. I have a stable connection and will auto save my assignment as I work. If I wanted to edit this oval that I included on the page, I could fill it in. I could change the color and how if I wanted to keep it just an outline, I'm going to click on it. That will initiate the editing circles, just like that box before. I can change the width of the line. I can change from a solid to a dotted line. And if I didn't like it, I could delete it as well. If I wanted to delete several things on the page, there's an eraser for that. I also like using this select annotations. All right, and then I can copy, paste, or delete. I also have the ability to add an image to an assignment. So if I go back to Miss Nelson's assignment, All About Me, there's a box here that says my picture or my hero or my favorite book. If I didn't want to type, I could search for something in my student drive, my Google Drive. I could do a Google search, a safe search right from Cami. And there's also a file of stickers that are loaded as well that I could insert. And the last tool is a signature tool. There shouldn't be a reason why your child will need to add a signature to an assignment, so you won't need to worry about that. So if the expanded descriptions of all the tools are too much, you can also, the last option is to shrink that down and take the descriptions away. It is set to load with the descriptions for each tool image loaded for you to see. All right. So those are all of the things I wanted to show you about Cami. Again, just a reminder, if you have any questions about which tool to use, when in doubt, always check with your teacher and look in the description box for additional resources for students on using the Cami tool. Thanks.